In this episode of Gearheads, we're putting new gauge clusters in my car. Woo! So Jesse, why would you want to replace the instrument cluster in your car? There's a few reasons you might want to put a new instrument cluster in your car. And actually, we're not putting a whole new instrument cluster in. We're just swapping the gauge faces. For me, there was two reasons. First off, I really like the way they look. I got some from revlimiter.net. A guy named Adam there makes them and sells them for a reasonable price. They're about 100 to 130 bucks a piece. Well, not a piece, for a set of them. And they're really nice. The other reason is also because I'm taller than a lot of Miata drivers. These ones actually help me be able to see the gauges a lot better. Instead of starting at the bottom left and going up clockwise to where I can't see the tops of where they go, I can't see past like 4,000 RPMs. These ones start at the top right and they go down and around, and I can see pretty much the entire path of them. The only one I still have trouble seeing would be the oil gauge, but I can duck a little and see it if I need to. Anyways though, please follow along with us and I hope you enjoy the video. First two things you're gonna want to do is pull down this cover here. It covers up all your electrical stuff underneath your dash. That's going to be two screws. There's two screws right up here and one over here, and then it just pulls down and pulls right out. After that, you're gonna want to pull this guy out, and there's gonna be 4 screws on the bottom. There's 2 in the front and 2 in the back. And the back one on the left side is gonna be really deep, so just make sure you have a long enough screwdriver and fish around until you find where it's set in there, and it takes a little bit, but that one will come out. So after you pull that guy out, it should just, I'll pull all those screws out, it should just pop free like this. The bottom will just come right out, and the top should do the same pretty easily. There we go. And next, if you want to, you can go ahead and remove your steering wheel. Obviously, it's easy for me to do because I have the quick release, and it's not required, but it does make it easier to reach and easier to get this thing off. So if you want to learn how to pull your steering wheel off of this, then I'll go ahead and put a link for the other video that we did showing you how to do that. After you have everything else out of the way, if you didn't pull your steering wheel off, that's okay. You should still be able to reach around and get this out fine. It just makes it a little bit tighter. You're gonna have 2 screws underneath your cluster head here. There's one right up under this side and one right opposite of it on the other side. So pull those 2 screws out. Once you have both of these screws on the bottom out, should be loose enough here to pull this somewhat this way. Just be able to wiggle the bottom around. Now, on almost every NA Miata, this is a very common problem. You have to be very careful when you pull your hood out because there's 3, they're not pins. There's I guess maybe they're pins, like 3 plastic pins that go through into the top of the dash and connect it. And you need to know where those are, so I'm going to show you where they're going to be. If you're not careful, you might end up breaking one of them, which, you know, happens. But even more importantly than that, you don't want to risk breaking your head here. So you need to be very careful with it. Don't tug it and don't, you know, yank on it or anything. If it's not coming easy, then just see what's getting stuck on and take your time. If you want to make as much room for yourself as possible, you can pull out your whole clock spring assembly here, but I haven't ever had to do it on mine. I've always just been able to take these pins out, get these screws off, and then you can finagle it out the side on the right. But on this one, the pins are already broken, so like I said, I'll show you where they are so that you know what to look for. But mine, I don't even need to pop loose. It was already loose. Somebody already broke them for me. So, let's see here. Once you do have them all out, you should be able to lift up on it and forward a bit, and then start going to the right with it. And you want to pull your blinker down just a little bit out of the way, and voila. It comes out pretty easy. All right, Matt, come over here and look. I'll show you guys where the pins go. So on the bottom side of the hood here, you can see where this one used to be and where this one used to be. And this one is, you know, not as broken as the other ones, but the snap thing coming out's not in place anymore. You look up in the dash and you can see where they used to go. So it's right here as the first one, right here as the next one, and it snaps into here. And then here's the last one. It's still broken off in there. Look at that. Oop, there it is. So you can kind of see what those things look like, and that's how they pop in. That's what you're going to be fighting against. So it is possible you can pull it out, but just be careful if you don't want to break them. Now, when I put mine back in, I'm probably going to end up just putting a little bit of RTV on the top so that it holds it in place firmly. And it hides pretty well. If you just do it neatly, then it looks good, and it'll keep it from rattling around, because if these are loose when you're driving around, it'll just kind of shake a bit, especially if you get like solid engine mounts and stuff like that. It used to rattle in my old car bad before I put the RTV on it too. Once your cluster hood cover's out, go and get your screwdriver back and just have 4 Phillips heads right here to take the gauge cluster out. Now the fun part. Dun. What is this guy? Now that the cluster's out of the car, you're going to want to make sure you have a clean workspace to work in. The new gauge faces that you get from Rev Limiter, he highly recommends wearing gloves when you're working with them so you don't get fingerprints or dust or other stuff on them, because it will show up on them once you put it back in the car. You don't want your speedometer, your tachometer moving up and down and seeing a big fingerprint or speck of dust or something in there. So just make sure you have everything nice and clean. First step with this is to go ahead and actually pull the plastic cover off the front, and to do that there's just a few tabs on the back here. So just go ahead and push the tabs in as you pull. It's actually better start on the edge, not right there where I was doing it. I pulled this thing off, but I actually was wrong. It's not for an alarm. I can only see it now because it's out. I don't know if you'll be able to see it on here, but it's actually for a rear defroster. I don't know, there's not enough light.
Set? Which one's the new one?
That one. Up here. These are the new ones. See how they start? Well, this one, since it's unplugged, it's all over, but there you go. See, these ones start down here and go up and over.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, I'm switching to these ones. First off, they look nice. I like the way they look, but also when they start up at the top and go down, I can see them a lot easier because I'm tall. So they kind of cut off up here for me, which is like between 60 and here, and then like 3 and 5. Like, you know, you just can't see the gauges very well. So if you're taller like I am, it makes it a lot easier to see if you get the gauges flipped like that. And I don't know. Also, the stock ones I think are kind of ugly at nighttime when you drive. They're backlit by like this green, like greenish color, and I just like these ones. I think it looks nice with the red light behind it. After your plastic cover's off, there is going to be 2 screws holding each of your gauge faces on. So you're gonna want to go ahead and get a tiny little screwdriver and pull those out. Obviously, I'm not getting these new in the packaging from Rev Limiter like you guys probably would be doing if you want to do your own custom gauges. So I'm just going to be pulling these guys out of my old cluster. But I did notice as I was doing it that I was having a little bit of a problem. I was trying to use these smaller pliers since that stuff's small, just to be careful with it. But it actually seems a little easier to use maybe a smaller, bigger plier like this style, because I can get it on there and get it to come right off easily, and you don't have to squeeze too hard, just be snug and pull it. Those ones were tending to slip a little bit, so just a tip. If you're doing this in your car, there's probably a good chance that you've swapped your steering wheel as well. In that case, you probably have your airbag light. So this also will allow you, when you pull this whole thing apart, to pull that light out. When you look at the cluster from the front, on the left side underneath where your tack used to be right here, there's 3 little pods. And the one on the left that's red here is where your airbag light went. So if you just turn it around, take the one that's on the left over here and just pull that bulb right out, you won't have that annoying light shining at you anymore. All right, well, once you got your clusters out, go ahead and just pick them up here. And these little things are kind of like mounting brackets for your gauge faces. So, the old ones are a little bit sticky. So just go ahead and pop it off, set it down. I probably should, since this one's been used before, I should probably wipe it off real quick with a microfiber cloth, because there was a little dust in there in the old cluster hood, especially after that accident. Got dirt and dust everywhere. On each of these gauges, just make sure you're lined up with the 2 screw holes here, and then up on this top side here, and then down here, you will be lined up with the mounting points for this. So let's see here. This lines up in there like that. These things kind of move around a little bit more than you'd want them to, honestly, but nothing you can do about it. And then start your screws once you get it set into place so that it doesn't move around or fall out of place. And that's it. You just do the same thing for the rest of them. Well, last time I did this, I was able to pretty much just get all the needles on the gauges placed, installed in that car, and good to go, except for, like I said, the gas tank was a little bit off, which annoyed me, but I left it. It might be worth it to you to not install the plastic face on this before you get back to the car and plug them all in, because when I had them all set, they were all in the right spots, and then the tachometer, as soon as I switched the car to on, it bumps the tachometer, and it was bumping it. It was starting here, but as soon as I turned the power on, it was bumping up to 2,000. So when I was idling, it was reading at like 3,000 RPM, which is obviously off. Also, on top of that, the water temperature gauge was off as well. So it might be a good idea for you to get it plugged into the car, turn the key on, and then just, you know, obviously be very careful about it, but get these guys put back on, put the needles back on where they're supposed to be so you get the right readings. Looks good to me. I just remembered something. When I pulled that one out, I realized I had cut a few pieces out of the old cluster, and now I remember why I had to do that. So this one needs to come back out so I can show you what I did. And it's something you're going to want to do too if you want to be able to see your tack light up the same as everything else. So hold on, let me unplug this again. Just so you know what these are that you're deleting down here. Your one on the left was your airbag light, which you're probably taking off anyways. This one only flips on. It's a yellow light that shows that your headlights are in motion going up and down. It's not really that necessary either, and I don't actually know what that one is. There was no bulb in it on this one at all when I took it out. I don't think my old one had a bulb either, so you could use a few different tools for this, like if you had a little Dremel maybe, but that plastic's pretty thin, so I'm just gonna cut it out with wire cutters. It should come out easy like that. I feel bad it's all pretty, but I gotta rip it out. Where's the little... There came that piece. And now these are what you need to cut at. So you need to pull that piece off so you can sit there with your whatever it is you use and just get these down to a shorter length since they're not going to be necessary anymore. Finally, I actually have all the gauges lined up. I took it for a test drive. All the gauges are working fine. Everyone's starting in the right spot, staying in the right spot. It kind of helps if you don't know how long the car's been sitting for your water gauge to go for a drive and run it until when you park, the fan turns on. On a Miata, as long as you have a healthy engine, you don't have any overheating issues, you should know as soon as that fan turns on, it's going to be right about in the middle of that gauge. Now just go ahead and start installing it again and do everything in the reverse order that you took it apart. If your hood was broken like mine, or you accidentally broke your tabs pulling it apart, then I will do what I mentioned earlier. Just take a little bit of RTV. Don't use too much. You don't want to gob it on there and then have it sticking out on the dash and see it. It looks ugly. Take a little bit, not too much. Just on the inside here of this seam. There we go. And then just remember the way you took it off with these guys on. Just start from the right and rotate in. There we go. It's almost there. Now hopefully that RTV in the back's enough to keep it nice and solid and keep it from flowing around. It shouldn't be very noticeable, but it should hold it in place at least. Thanks for watching, guys. I love my gauge faces in the car, and I can't wait to be driving around with those again instead of the ugly stock ones. So thank you so much for watching, and I hope you enjoyed this as much as we did.
Don't forget, like, comment, subscribe,
And keep wrenching!
Hey Brandon, how's your motorcycle?
It's fabulous, Matt.
Is it?
Yeah.
Is it done?
No, but it should be. Not yet. We're getting close.
So did you resealed the forks?
Yeah, the forks got new seals in them, new oil, different settings. The guy was complaining it was too soft, so changed the oil level up and compression and rebound adjusters. So
Cool. It looks like you're just about done, right?
yeah, getting there. Got to bolt the fender on, torque the triple clamps, and put the axle through, and all that. So getting there.